You guys know Jim Breuer, right? I'm probably the last person to talk about this story, but he put out a really weird video a while back. Video came out mid-December where he was pretending to be like a cockatoo. There's a reason why I'm hitting this now instead of mid-December. It's because more shit's come out about this guy. If you're unfamiliar with the cockatoo video, we will get there. We're gonna get there. Just bear with me through this. Basically, Jim Breuer is a comedian who is on Saturday Night Live. He's pretty big and famous, honestly. Very big and famous. He's incredibly influential. And guess where he's been performing lately? The Reawaken America Conference, alongside Mike Lindell, Greg Locke, and all of the other people out there who are completely unhinged from reality. It's effectively a QAnon conference. And Jim Breuer of Saturday Night Live has been performing there and interviewing with the hosts. This is a problem for me. I'll tell you what, why don't we just watch this first interview? This is early December 2021, where he does an interview with the host of the Reawaken America tour, Clay Clark, I think his name is. He gives an interview to him, and then we'll move on to the cockatoo story, because there's a lot to dig into here. Give this a listen.
Can you talk to me about comedy and why comedy is, or maybe you don't agree, but why comedy is truly one of the last places where completely free speech is allowed?
The jester was the greatest, most important person since the beginning of time, because the jester comes, he kind of brings his message, people laugh, and then he leaves. And hopefully some people go, hey, what did that guy just say?
Okay, I can kind of respect what he's getting at here. It seems like what he's laying out is the joker, the jester, can tell his jokes, and he can kind of mix an important message in there for everybody, right? A message that may not be desirable otherwise, but he packages the message up in a way that is desirable, that is funny, makes it subtle but pointed, so that when he leaves, people start thinking, they start questioning, maybe he's right. I can get on board with that, actually. But I have some rules. First of all, don't be a shithead. Don't attack people for no reason. Don't attack their race. Don't attack their sexuality. Criticism is okay. Attacking and degrading is not. There's a distinct difference there. So if you're coming in and you're making a joke, that's okay with me. But if you're making it at somebody's expense, that's when it becomes a problem for me. I don't give a shit if you say it in joke form or not. Being racist isn't okay with me, period. You can be racist, and whether you say it in joke form or not, I'm going to have a problem with that. So when this guy, Clay Clark, said what he said here,
is truly one of the last places where completely free speech is allowed.
We have freedom of speech in the United States. You're not going to go to jail for something that you say. But saying something that's racist means you will most likely face social consequences for that. That's just what it is. You don't want to face social consequences, then don't be racist. But you know what? Like I said, so far I'm with Jim Breuer on what he's saying. The jester can come in and tell a joke, and if he's subtle, he can touch on some subjects that may be a little bit more taboo that he wants people to think about. I'm on board so far.
Also make you think. And if you shut down that, and it's the last thing with free speech, comedy heals, and comedy is the most important element of human existence, if you ask me.
Okay, I can definitely see a comedian taking that perspective. I would say medicine is probably more important. Science, those are probably a little bit higher on my list, but I guess I get why a comedian would say it's comedy. Let's continue.
It is a thing that can heal you from...
You're thinking medicine. Medicine heals. Comedy makes people laugh.
From just the worst tragedy in life, the worst sickness you're dealing through.
Medicine, again. Medicine heals people from sickness, not comedy. I just want to make sure we're on the same page here.
If you don't have comedy, you're in serious trouble. You need to be humbled. You need humility in life.
What does that have to do with comedy? I feel like we're getting off track here, Jim. What's happening?
You need humility in life. And that is one of the essence of life. Faith, comedy, you need all that.
What? None of this makes any sense. And what makes it even worse is there was a whole bunch of shit in the middle of that didn't make any sense that I had to cut out for time purposes. He started talking about iPhones and being offended and all kinds of bizarre shit that didn't make any sense. I digress. That brings us to his actual appearance at the Reawaken America conference. I wanted to play this because this guy obviously has a clear bead on what comedy is, right? He has a clear understanding of what it means to be a comedian. He knows how a joke is constructed. So let's listen to a well-crafted joke by Mr. Jim Breuer.
You know what a cockatoo is? A cockatoo. And that's what everyone's become. Little cockatoos staring at the screen.
Facts and figures, facts and figures. Dr. Fauci, Dr. Fauci. Trust the science, trust the science.
You know the saddest part about this whole thing? By the way, I'm laughing out of secondhand embarrassment, not because it's funny. It's not. It's fucking stupid. The saddest part about this whole thing is the fact that his wife got cancer a few years ago. Dee Breuer. And guess what? He trusted the science then. He looked at the facts and figures then. But on this one issue, of course we know he's talking about COVID. What the fuck else could he be talking about at a QAnon conference criticizing facts and figures and Dr. Fauci? Of course that's what he's doing. At this one conference, he chooses to criticize science. But when his wife's life was on the line, he went to those specialists. He read the literature on the subject. He talked to those doctors. He believed them. He listened to them. He paid them probably grotesque amounts of money. Don't get me started on the healthcare system in the U.S. We'll be here all day. But he trusted them so much with her life that he paid them grotesque amounts of money, undoubtedly, to save it. And here we are on the other side with him mocking the medical profession, mocking the scientific research that saved his wife's life. I wasn't originally going to cover this because this is just about some other right-wing guy being a wingnut, right? This happens. My channel isn't about politics or right-wingers. It's not about that. It's about cults and religious movements, the mixture of religion and politics. That's what my channel really is about. That's what I talk about. Well, this just crossed into cult territory. There's another video that came out from Jim Breuer after this one came out. I mean, the fact that he went to the Reawaken America QAnon conference honestly should have been enough in the first place for me to cover it, but I decided to hold my tongue and not say a word because truthfully, I had other things to talk about. I mean, it's just a cockatoo joke, you know? But there's more. Let's finish out the clip of the cockatoo joke, and then we're going to move on to the next video that he put out.
Specialist, numbers going up, 1 mask, 2 masks, vaccinated,
I honestly don't actually see what's funny about this. I try to put myself in these situations. Like, would I find this funny if I bought into this worldview? I don't think so. Even so, aside from that, even if I did, what he said a minute ago about the jester coming in, making everybody laugh, and then they kind of think to themselves, hey, wait a minute. That's not the situation he's put himself in here. He has made himself repulsive to 1/2, at least, minimum, 1/2 of the population. From my understanding, the way he described it, it seemed like the court jester was supposed to make everyone laugh. Everyone, right? And then make some of them think to themselves, wait a minute, he's just making half the people completely repulsed by it. This isn't funny. This isn't a joke in any way. This is just garbage. That is why I say it is a poorly crafted joke. If you really want to accomplish those goals, you want to make everybody laugh and make some people think afterward, you should make the joke at least a little bit amusing to everybody. Find some way to make the joke attractive at least a little bit to everybody. He didn't do that at all. He's walking around stage making fun of Dr. Fauci, a doctor who's trying to save people's lives, and pretending to be an obnoxious bird. That brings us to the next clip. Late January 2022 is when this one came out. He made an appearance on a full-blown QAnon podcast, effectively a podcast, okay? And he had some real weird shit to say. This is why I decided to cover this guy now. I could have covered the Reawaken America tour video where he pretended to be a cockatoo, but everybody covered it, and I felt like it was done to death. Well, now it's crossed into new territory. Now he is fully QAnon. Listen to this clip.
I'm telling you, people, when you see this, it's a very special club. You had to be indoctrinated to get that club.
Let me give you context for this. This guy seems to believe, Jim Breuer of Saturday Night Live, that people who cover half of their face like this are signaling to their fellow cabal members, to their fellow Satanists, to their fellow child sacrifice ritualists. Pick the Jewish trope, the Jewish conspiracy from the 1940s. That's who he's talking about. Those people, the elites, the Hollywood elites. Those are the people that cover half their face like this. And there's an origin to what he's talking about here. I'll get into it in a minute.
When you see black eyes, that's a club. You have to be indoctrinated by that club. There you go. That's the meat dress.
He's talking about Lady Gaga's dress. He believes this to be a meat dress. He believes that it's like part of satanic rituals that she was performing. And in a video by Lady Gaga and by Katy Perry and many others, they flash symbols. One of the symbols they flash is covering their face like this, or covering it like this, or covering it with half of their hat like he did a minute ago, or wearing sunglasses in a certain way. He believes all of this symbolism is calling out to their fellow Satanists, to their fellow elites, and you have to be indoctrinated to be a member of that club. So he's showing this quote-unquote meat dress that Lady Gaga wore, supposedly.
Of Lady Gaga. Now, you ain't telling me she joined a special, creepy, demonic club. And when these people are finally put in that category, the demons that are pulling their strings put them on the highest ladder to become popular, to sway everyone in the wrong direction. It's been a classic move since the beginning of time. Roman Empire, it goes on and on and on and on.
He unironically believes that demons are at the top of the entertainment industry, at the top of every industry, pulling strings and making people famous, basically to sell their souls. They have to sell their souls to become famous and rich. And once they do, they shoot to the very top. And it gets even worse than that. This guy claims to have been one of the people who received that offer from demons. Listen to this.
Now, there is an underlying thing, which I know you know about, Jimbo, where people say symbolism will be their downfall.
That's right.
There's many different symbolisms. But all your pop stars, all your big stars, CEOs that do this, that cover the eye, that do this, I'm telling you right now, you better take a couple steps. You have to take a couple steps back, take away your emotions, and really investigate. Poor Katy Perry. And I can't blame these people. I just could only imagine how tormented they must have been at one point, emotionally, spiritually, and been conned to go a certain way. I have been conned multiple times. I've been tried to be swayed multiple times.
People have tried to sway him, or demons have tried to sway him, tried to convince him to be part of this industry. If he just sells his soul to demons, then he'll shoot to the very top. This is complete disconnection from reality, seriously. This guy is now full-blown QAnon, and that is why I felt comfortable covering him now. I didn't want to cover him before because so many other people were about that cockatoo story. This is another level past it. This is complete paranoia land where he lives now.
So I just thought that was fascinating. And it was so, and they keep saying, if you look on the internet, blah, blah, they'll say things like it's so blatantly obvious. When I saw this Lady Gaga display, I was like, they're not even hiding it. It's right. So comical now the more we saw it, just like the Disney movie we presented at one time. They're presenting it. What?
But it's all coming out. It's all coming out into the light now, which this is a good thing. This has been going on forever, like you said. But now all of a sudden, are we waking up? I guess we're waking up. I don't know. Are we just noticing it now? Or were they forced into the light? Because now, like you said, it's symbolism everywhere. Now you can look, you can see it. You can do a database where like you could, let me pull up all the people with one eye covered and all that stuff.
These people are seeing symbols and signs everywhere. Believe that every time they turn a corner, people seem to be watching them because they know that they're on to them. They seem to think that when they turn a corner and they see somebody cover their face, it's a sign that the demons know where they are and they know that they're watching them because they're onto them. They know their secrets. What is it like to live in such a paranoid state 24/7? What is that like? I feel so bad for these people, so bad, that they can't just pull it together and live normal lives as normal members of society because they're in paranoia mode 24/7. Looking for symbols everywhere, looking for patterns everywhere. When you become a QAnon member, you basically eat yourself alive with fear and paranoia. And if you doubt that, then just go to the QAnon Casualties subreddit. There's an entire subreddit dedicated to documenting the lives that people have lost to this belief system. It is a genuinely heartbreaking place to be. To hear people tell their stories of losing their mom, or their dad, or their uncle, or their sister, or their brother, to this bizarre belief system. And guess what? We can count one more in the QAnon ranks. Jim Breuer. Honestly, I used to watch Jim Breuer when I was little. When I was 12, I started homeschooling. I was completely isolated from society as a Jehovah's Witness. I was taken out of society entirely, had no contact with the outside world. The only people I talked to, ever, were my mom and my dad. Both had bipolar disorder. It affected me negatively, very, very negatively. But I was homeschooled for 4 years and alone with those two people and nobody else for the entire time. So sometimes I would sit there during the day and I would watch live news broadcasts because I wanted to have some kind of a connection with the outside world. You guys ever heard of the call of the void? It's this feeling you get when you're standing on a cliff and you kind of want to jump, but you have no internal feelings like that. Like you're not or anything. You just have this weird desire to jump over the edge. That's called the call of the void. It's an emotion. I had a similar emotion when I was stuck at home with nobody to talk to. It was this call to connect with somebody else. And my only way of doing that was to watch CNN live broadcasts or Fox News live or whatever, where they would go to these events and they would interview people live on TV. It's like my only connection to the outside world. While I was homeschooling, I didn't watch news 24/7, live news. That was only when it got really bad. Outside of that, I actually watched a lot of Comedy Central. I watched a lot of Comedy Central stand-up routines. And Jim Breuer had his own Comedy Central special. I watched so much Jim Breuer when I was a kid, from 12 to 16, I think. I watched a lot of his stuff. It's really, really sad now to know that this guy has gone full QAnon. He is full QAnon. He is a full-blown believer. It's really heartbreaking for his family and honestly for himself.